Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Dylan Ferguson. Dylan, how's it going?
Fine and dandy like sour candy. Ready to get into it.
Yeah, ready to get into it. We're flying solo this week. Unfortunately,
Hey.
our guest...
That's not what that means.
What do you mean?
You're not solo. There's two of us.
No, I said we're flying solo.
It's not solo when there's two people.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. We're flying tandem.
There we go. Thank you.
We're going to dive right into our recaps here. We had an exciting week of Real Housewives of New York and Real Housewives of Orange County. Dylan, where would you like to start?
Let's start in New York.
All right. What were your highlights from New York this week?
Continuing to love the strange gravitational pull of Jenna Lyons, who is like simultaneously by far the most powerful figure on the show and the most insecure figure on the show. It's just such a compelling dynamic to have her like have this like kind of awkwardness and this like genetic disorder that she's like very open about, that makes her like very like vulnerable, and at the same time being the one who has like by far the most professional success and like the most influential figure on the show, so that everybody's kind of like awkwardly in her orbit of both like trying to suck up to her, getting tired of her, feeling sorry for her, feeling like they should never feel sorry for her because she's got more influence than they have. That like the influence that she has as like the sun at the center of this solar system is like really interesting to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it reminds me a lot of the presence that Raquel has on Vanderpump Rules. Sorry, Rachel. There's a certain awkwardness and uncertainty about the way that she carried herself on that show. I initially was like, I don't know that this is a very like compelling thing to watch. It does not feel like anything else that we have seen on Bravo, but it really is. And watching someone navigate that and feeling your own, like it's very easy to project your own uncertainties and anxieties onto someone that operates in that way when you're watching it on screen. It's like, oh, okay, I can see like I would navigate that situation in the same way and make those same mistakes.
Yeah. When somebody is like visibly awkward on screen, I think you hit on something there. It makes it easier to self-insert in a way into the character. It's easy to cheer for somebody who's like very confident, but it's easy to self-insert in somebody who's like openly displaying insecurity. Obviously, the huge difference between Rachel and Jenna is that Rachel was automatically on the periphery of the group, and Jenna is automatically in the center, just as being like the most established one that the reboot seems to have been almost built around. So that just makes it interesting in a whole different way for me. But I definitely find myself like instantly sympathetic to her and like wanting to defend when people come up with comments where like Brynn's like, it's like she doesn't know like girls trip 101, and it's like, yeah, but that's what's so adorable about her, is that she's like openly saying like I've never done a girls trip, and like and when she like makes awkward decisions, you want to take her side because it's like, yeah, that's sweet, you want to cheer for her.
What other highlights did you have?
Let's just talk about the food that they have at Anguilla when they show up there. And they just like, and they're all like, oh wow, look at the spread, and they walk into a kitchen, like this totally clean kitchen that looks like it hasn't been used all day, and it's got like tacos and hamburgers with not like a trace of steam or anything. Like these are just cold tacos and hamburgers. They're just eating like cold food, cold gelatinous congealed food that's supposed to be hot. It's just so weird to me. And that nobody mentions that either. They're just like, oh yes, great, real food, finally. Unlike at Aaron's place, like I would rather have fish roe on a cracker than like a cold hamburger that's looks like it's been sitting on a counter for 2 hours.
Yeah, I had a note on that too. I was like, is this catered by Kirkland? Like everything looks like it was Costco buns, like frozen patties. It was not appealing whatsoever. It looked like standard resort fare, but they're, in this villa that's supposed to be this elevated vacation experience. And yeah, to compare it to, I guess Pringles with caviar on it, maybe that's an upgrade, but I don't know. Yeah, it was not exactly appealing to me either.
Yeah, I would rather scarf down Pringles and caviar, I think, than just like, yeah, like you said, they look like very generic burgers. It kind of reminded me of that that Trump photo shoot, where he's got like a bunch of like hamburgers on a table, and he's like, "Hey, look, there's a bunch of hamburgers just sitting here for who knows how long." Like, it's just not doesn't seem appealing. I love a hamburger, but like a bunch of them just sitting cold on a counter is like very unappealing.
I guess the big sort of question of this episode is, what is Jenna's motivation for flying out on her own? I'm curious what your perspective was on this.
I mean, she says both, right? I think she hedges it by saying it was primarily to get a base layer on her tan, but I guess why can't it be both? I mean, I do agree that it like comes off as like really snobbish and annoying to be like, I'm gonna get a different flight because I don't want to fly coach. But if you're rich and you're getting older and you're 6'1" and you want to be comfortable, I can kind of get it.
I think that it was actually the primary motivation, but also I don't blame her whatsoever. Actually, watching this travel montage like we usually get on these shows, I don't know if you've seen those memes where it's like new ick unlocked, and I think my new ick is Housewives flying coach, because it's like, oh, have some like self-respect crawling into these cramped quarters. I want to see the glamour. I want to see them in like first class or flying private.
Yeah, and they can do more of their thing instead of having like little tiny moments of lowering their mask on like a cell phone camera and being like, "Hey, getting wacky," but no, gotta buckle up,
Yeah.
Let's see them in the PJ drinking champagne. That's just more televisual.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have any other highlights from New York?
Yeah, I it's funny and also kind of relatable the way Pavitt's going to go to like Vietnam for like 2 days. Like that's just it's kind of a weird thing to do. But I can't like fault his defense. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go have a good banh mi sandwich, and Jessel says like, so what are you gonna do? Spend time with a sandwich?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, man, why not? If you have the means to fly to Vietnam to get a really good fucking sandwich, then fly out. Sounds like a good life. Enjoy.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if you're going to be flying there, it's maybe like $2,000 round trip plus like a couple nights in Vietnam. A banh mi is not that expensive.
No,
if
that's
you're
not the financial commitment buying the banh mi.
But if you're like doing the math and being like, okay, I'm gonna spend, $20,000 on a banh mi sandwich. Yes, that seems kind of crazy, but when you compare it to spending $60,000 on coloring, as Pavitt has mentioned for the preschool, it's a bit more understandable.
Yeah, sure. And also I feel it when she's like, you're gonna spend 20 hours on the plane. He's like, being on a plane is a vacation for me. And yeah, being on a plane is a vacation. I know some people hate being on planes. I think it's cool to just like have to be seated in one spot for a long time. You got your books with you. You got some movies on the screen if you want. During the daylight hours, you can look out the window and see the ocean and cool scenery and stuff. That is a vacation.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to just fucking chill. Like, yeah, being on a plane for 20 hours is part of the vacation. That's not a hassle for me. That's like part of the experience. So I feel that.
Totally. And ginger ale tastes better when you're flying.
So does tomato juice.
Yeah. And airport food, when you're spending that much money on airport food, it like tastes that much better. So
airport food rules.
Yeah.
Fuck those 90s jokes. They're wrong. Airport food is awesome. You get a little tiny bottle when you get a little tiny bottle of wine, it's the best. You know what I mean? Like the little like mini bar bottle of wine. You pour it into a little plastic cup. A little tiny dessert that's like 2 bites.
There's all these like little like burger restaurants, and like they're all branded a different way in every different airport, but they're exact same menu. Like it's exact same burger, but it's because it's the best burger. Like it's the best burger that you can get. You're paying $20 for this burger, but it's the best. Full stop. That's the end of my rant.
You can't argue with the best. It's maybe no Vietnam banh mi, but it's up there. All part of the experience.
What other highlights did you have?
Good to have Uba back. I really like her line when she sees a space she likes and says, "I could come here with a donkey." I don't know what the fuck that means. That's awesome. Do you know what that means? I could come here with a donkey?
No, what? I didn't even catch that. When did she say that?
I think she says it when they like are introduced to their living quarters, and I think she says it in the sense of like, "Oh, I really enjoy this space."
Oh, I'm gonna start saying that now.
Yeah, me too. Erin comes off looking bad again, I think, right? In like it just showing up with her fucking butternut squash soup, and then scurrying off with gossip. You know, just very, very duplicitous move to just be like to just wheedle her way in with like with a hot steaming broth, like some fucking fairy tale character, and then like steal something from the larder of and run off with it to spread mischief.
Yeah, definitely like not a cool move, but I loved it. Like I was waiting to see Erin do something like this, and to see her pull a page that is, you know, I could see someone like Tamra doing exactly this, like coming in, you know, being so warm and to the point of like Jenna being like, "Oh, I get to see Mother Erin," and then her to come out and completely misrepresent something that Jenna was like kind of joking about and use it to cause drama. I love to see this. I was glad to finally see Erin doing something. Yeah. I've changed my tune a little bit on Erin since we had that episode with Sandy a couple weeks back where she was like, actually Erin is doing a lot to just be annoying and stir shit up. And yeah, I totally see that point now. I am seeing Erin's light, and it sucks, but it's also great.
Yeah, I haven't quite warmed up to her that much, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, she has been kind of, they were starting to treat her collectively more like a villain, and with this, she's starting to like act the role a bit more. Like she's starting to like, you know, that is an actual like villainous thing to do. So respect for that. Also, Brynn is like getting really intense with her like anti-Jenna position. And I think she's like, I feel like we've seen a lot of her trying to take opportunities to take shots at Jenna, and I think she feels now that she has her chance to kind of go all in, and she's really she's really going for her, it seems, at the end there, and I think she's just getting started. I'm not really sure why she thinks that's what she needs to do. Why do you think?
Okay, so part of me wants to like frame Brynn as kind of a mastermind because I really like her. I like what she's bringing to this cast. It could be that she sees Jenna as being this person who is not facing any sort of opposition within the group dynamic, and if she's really eager to carve out something for herself within this group, you know, creating a divide there and being someone that is going to go up against a Goliath, I think I think that's a valid motivation for someone that if they are seeing the housewife as like a social game, which not everyone is, and we've talked about that before, that you don't need to do that in order to be a good housewife. But you know, Brynn makes, we haven't seen how she makes her money. Presumably she makes it by winning chess tournaments, and so she's thinking 2 moves ahead of everyone, and I'm choosing to believe that.
Not based on the available evidence. I did love that part where she's playing chess with Sai, and she's like, okay, so the thing is, you got to protect the pawns. Most people think you don't protect the pawns. That's rule 1. You protect the pawns. And Sai's like, Brynn, I'm winning.
Yeah, she's not thinking 2 moves ahead. She's thinking 2 games ahead.
Right. She's playing 3D chess. She's on that con shit. Yeah, I guess basically my best interpretation was that it's just like straight up going for the most powerful person in the group, like just like straight up Gombe chimpanzee shit, like just like identifying the person who has like the most like clout and just being like, okay, I'm gonna attack them. That's the best way to strike the by position, by weakening the strongest one. But seems risky, but there seems to be a general turn after these new events towards like feeling more okay with being anti-Jenna. The tide does seem to be turning a bit.
Yeah, one thing that I like about how she's approaching this is, yes, she is kind of going all out, but she's framing it in a way that it's not like she can't come back from this. Like she's saying, like, I'm going at you because you aren't open enough with me. You don't share enough with me. And she's framing this as being like motivated by wanting to build a stronger connection, and that's where this
Yeah.
tension is coming from. So, I think she's leaving a lot of moves open for herself, to potentially turn this into a very strong bond, depending on how everything shakes out, which is
Potentially.
different than how I think Sai, who is starting to turn on Jenna, is approaching things. She's saying, oh, she's, Jenna's self-serving. She's like only putting in her collabs into these gift boxes because she wants to build her brand and stuff like that, which is more, I feel like that's more of an attack that is going to be harder to come back from with Jenna, because it seems like a personal attack that isn't motivated by anything other than just calling someone selfish and self-serving.
Yeah, it is. If that's the strategy, it is also risky to approach somebody who like maybe is a little uneasy about making friendships automatically, and with the position of basically being, if you're not gonna be my friend, I'm against you.
Yeah,
that could be risky.
We got a scene in LA with Brynn and her brother. I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Some good bro action at the start here. We go.
Yeah,
double brothers.
Double brothers. I thought that I liked seeing this scene because I think you have pointed out that we have, like, Brynn had started off as a pretty like one-dimensional character in the way that she was operating. I thought that this gave us a lot of perspective on her relationships. Like this episode opened up with like previously on Real Housewives of New York, when we got a clip of Gideon. I'm like, oh, maybe Gideon's going to come back. But really what that was doing was setting up this conversation with Brynn and her brother, where it talks about her avoidance of commitment and, how she is avoiding commitment because she is afraid of getting too close because of her past with her family. And I thought that this was a really engaging scene because it's so complex, this relationship that she has with family, because she wants a family so badly, but also is so fearful of creating a bad family environment because she's got so much trauma in her past relating to it. It was a real highlight for me to see that, because slowly I feel like we're seeing how the Brynn that we got at the beginning of the season is constructed by all these past events. And I just love the complexity that we're getting built onto Brynn as a character.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely good to see her motivations and her fears get fleshed out a little bit more. And having a sibling come in, like we have with Jenna earlier too, is always a good thing for me, because it's like the person you do the least performance with is your sibling. It's like you're the most like just like straight up without like trying to prove anything or like play a character or anything. So it's always interesting to me when we get a sibling come out and get to see a character from that angle.
Yeah, totally. Did you have any other highlights from New York?
That about covers it, I think. I do like the setting in Anguilla, that kind of like Santorini style building, and with like the big open windows and stuff, and you get kind of that like Alex Colville painting kind of aesthetic happening with their conversations while they eat horrible cold food. It was visually nice near the end. I hope they spend some more time there.
Yeah, I love that we got a little bit of a room drama. I think that's one of the staples of housewife girls trips, is some sort of conflict or some interesting dynamic in terms of how room selection happens.
Yeah.
So I was glad to see at least a little bit of a nod to it, even if it wasn't fireworks, but for Jenna to be like, oh, I got this, charming little room, and then to see Jessel's room and being like, oh, okay, I'm actually being punished here.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. It's always good to see.
I think that about covers it for New York for me. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Orange County. What were your thoughts there?
John's not beating the allegations of being a shitty partner by his attempts at like showing affection to Shannon by scratching her back like he's like checking his dog for ticks. Like just like the weirdest, like least sensual back scratch I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and this scene felt like such a setup scene. Like, I do not buy that John spent the night at Shannon's at all.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he showed up there to make it look like on camera he spent the night there. It felt so staged.
Totally.
He was way more put together than she was. So, yeah, I don't buy it.
No, neither do I. It was totally set up, just like they tried to plan to have him doing like something that reads sensual to the camera to prove that they actually are like a proper couple, and it just came off so bad, just didn't work at all.
So, what do you think is a more awkward display of affection? The Shannon and John back massage or itching, or the awkward spooning paparazzi photos from Heather and Terry?
Oh yeah, it's a tough competition. They like, I mean, Heather and Terry actually look in those photos like they're people who tolerate each other. But it is if they did like call the paparazzi to like see them at Disneyland, that is like pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also, I don't understand. There's been a number of lines as we can understand when Heather is talking about it, and she says, "Yeah, okay, where there's smoke, where there's fire, but you know what else there is? Arson." What does she mean by that? I completely don't get that.
Someone is setting her and John on fire, but who could it be?
I guess. But I thought she was replying to the "where there's smoke, there's fire" in the sense of like, it seems suspiciously like they're set up. And she's like, yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes fires are planned. Like, yeah, that's the accusation that's being made here. That it's planned.
Yeah, true.
Tamra did do a great job of just like stirring up everybody at the conversation near the end. Just like,
yes,
great masterclass of just like sowing chaos and pretending like she's not the one doing it.
Yeah.
I just love the way she's just like is like taking Shannon's side, being Shannon's defender and her sidekick, and then being like, yeah, and like when you said that that Gina's boyfriend has a small penis, right?
Yeah.
Just throws that in there. It's just kind of like, I don't think Gina's mad enough at Shannon. Let me throw something else on. Let me throw another log on the fire there.
A very small log.
A very small log, right? Oh my god. And Gina's attempts to defend Travis's penis. Oh my god, when she's like, oh, I think Travis has a lovely sized penis. That, man, if I overheard somebody I slept with saying like, oh, I think his penis is lovely sized, I'm running a bath and bringing a straight razor in with me. That is brutal. That is so devastating. He's not coming back from that.
Yeah, she talked about his penis the same way Jenna Lyons talked about the room she got stuck in. So, very charming size.
Charming, yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. I thought that Tamra was, like you said, putting on a master class. I said to Jess while we were watching, I'm like, anyone that is out there saying that Tamra shouldn't have been brought back is just flat out wrong. Like, she is so awesome to watch. I feel like she brings so much to the show, and without her, I feel like we would have got a very boring season.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch last season, but I keep thinking like, what were they doing without her? Like who was the engine without her? Because she's the engine of like every episode.
Last season was an all right, decent season of Orange County, but yeah, Tamra coming back just really elevates the show.
Oh yeah. That whole conversation was just an amazing display of turning everybody against each other. and making it come off like she's not the one doing fucking everything.
Yeah. I loved how the edit treated her too. Like in that early scene with Shannon and John and Tamra, we've got like Shannon talking about how no one else's opinion matters, and it immediately cuts to Tamra giving a confessional where she's like, John not talking about marriage, that's a red flag. Like immediately giving her opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's what Tamra gives or the editors just like knowing how to work her, but it's just such a lovely symbiotic relationship to see how she gets treated throughout the season.
Yeah. And you're not gonna like nail Tamra down by like breaking out proof of her being hypocritical, because she like owns up to it. Like she nakedly admits that she like will adjust her behavior and whose side she's on based on the circumstances and the situation. So like you can't be like, aha, I found a contradiction in your opinions, because she like is totally open about that's how she is.
Yeah. What other highlights did you have from this episode?
Heather's getting just more and more annoying to me. I don't I don't find it cute the way that she's like prompting her interviewer into giving her opinion on vintages of Dom Perignon. Like that's just it's a very tacky way to try to make everybody like see you as being like wealthy and knowledgeable. Nothing wrong with being like proud of being like a wine geek. Wine geeks are a cool type of geek, and if you know a lot about wines, that's cool to flaunt that. But like it's just like the most like basic rich person who doesn't necessarily know much about anything move to be like, one Dom Perignon vintage is better than another. Ask me about Dom Perignon. And that's what I loved actually about Tamra's Heather Duho impression from a few episodes back, which I thought was great, because I thought like she really seized on the fact that a good impression of somebody isn't just like imitating the way they talk and act. It's about creating a character based on something that you get from the person, and and the fact that she's got like her gold-plated money gun and is like shooting money everywhere, and Heather's like, I don't shoot a money gun, that's déclassé. It's like just like underscores like how much she nailed Heather's like basic tackiness. Not in a literal sense, like of course Heather doesn't literally do that, but like so much of her attitude is like effectively that kind of like tacky cheap displays of like obviously trying to flaunt wealth. So Heather Duho was just a great moment of the show for me.
Yeah, I agree about Heather and her tackiness. I do kind of like her on screen. There's something about her, I can't really put my finger on it, but I do think that we get some interesting reactions from her. I think, she's above replacement level housewife, I feel. I like the edit that we got of like the MIB edit. I think she's not like a villain, but she's a bit of a heel, I guess. Like she's not someone that you want to root for, but I think she is functionally a good housewife, because she the way she gets worked up, and it adds a je ne sais quoi.
Sure. As Heather might say.
Yeah. I really loved when Shannon called out her like fake tears. I thought the lunch between Heather and Shannon was a really fun scene, because they are both housewives that are they're kind of natural housewives. They're not strategic in any sense. They just kind of naturally bring something. With Heather, it's this tackiness, this weirdness that I described, and with Shannon, it's just being so unintentionally messy and just naturally kind of funny. And to put them in and just see that chemistry emerge, I thought was really really fun to see. I think it gets down to something that's at the root of these shows that I really like about watching these dynamics.
Plus Shannon did have a really good line when she was like, maybe you can put this lunch in your IMDb.
Yeah.
That was a good line, well delivered.
Yeah. That was excellent. I thought that it was interesting to watch this lunch again, because when we got to see it play out on TV, there was like editor receipts about, you know, Heather claiming that she wasn't peddling this information, and then the editors show she clearly was peddling this information. And you know, it kind of put at the forefront just how bad Heather is at playing this strategically, and really, like, you know, despite that, I find her to be an engaging housewife. Watching her try to work Shannon over this piece of information it was like, you know, watching someone try to work a training dummy. Like, it's just, you know, you're not really showing your strength by doing this in any way. And I feel like it's so much, you know, in Shannon's mind, it's a bigger bombshell than what is going on between her and Gina. But I feel like the way that this plays between Gina and Shannon is so much more interesting and nuanced, just because of their personalities, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it definitely got worse at the end, so that's gonna be fun. Would have liked to have seen more of Shannon this season, but you know, unfortunately, God did strike her dead. So, R.I.P. Shannon. Gina had some good lines too. I do like when like they're walking into their fucking rustic pumpkin carving thing, and she's like, "Oh, what are those things growing? Weeds?" in reference to corn. Was that Gina who said that? I think that was Gina who said that. But she had my favorite line of the week when she's like, "Tamra has a spoon in every pocketbook that she owns."
Yeah.
was she saying she does cocaine, or was that like just total? I feel like she was trying to make a metaphor for something, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what she was.
Well, she was saying like she's got a spoon in every pocket that she owns, like for stirring the pot, I think is what she was going for.
Okay, that's pretty awkward.
I liked it.
Yeah, but she led into it by saying she's twisting everything. She should have led into it by saying she likes to stir the pot, which she didn't say, I don't think. She says,
right,
like,
yeah.
She keeps twisting everything people say. She's always twisting what people say. She's got a spoon in every pocket she owns. So it didn't read as like something that one phrase that follows another. I was trying to figure out what it is, and I'm like, is she accusing her of having a cocaine addiction? I don't know what she means.
Yeah, no, I thought that like having a spoon in every pocket, I think that is like a really good foundation for a zinger. But you're right, she did not execute it well. I hope that Tamra uses it for her tagline next season, though. I think it's got real raw potential.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I may have a spoon in every pocket, but I don't know.
So that's a punchline. It's like something, 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 but I got a spoon in every pocket. We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll workshop that. I'll come up.
But speaking of taglines, we get to power rank taglines next week, which I'm super stoked about because Real Housewives of Salt Lake City premieres.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Yes. I can't wait. That's my favorite part of the show. I'm just here to rank taglines.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you have any other highlights from this?
No, not really. They suck at carving pumpkins, but you know, that's fine. I'm not gonna drag anybody through the mud because they suck at carving pumpkins. So that's just have to deal with it, I guess.
So I love carving pumpkins. It's one of my favorite things about Halloween. But one point of contention between my wife Jess and I is that I say you always open the pumpkin from the bottom. You cut the bottom instead of the top. And
that's what they do.
That's what they did here. That's what it said expert under her. Or they said that this was a pumpkin carving expert. And she said, cut at the bottom, not the top.
Yeah,
Jessica.
I'm with Jessica on this one though. I've never cut out the bottom. I think that's perverse. I think it's just unnecessarily grotesque. And it's insulting to a lot of people's sensibilities, religious and philosophical. I think that you take the top off, and then you've got a little cap that you can take off, and then put the candle in, and then you put the little cap back on, and it's a fun thing to do. And
but you still have the handle when you cut the bottom. It's just you use it to pick up the
little hat you can take off.
And then you shove your hand in there to light your candle and burn your hand while you do it?
No. You practice it beforehand, of course. But then you can move the pumpkin around, and it doesn't have this gaping hole in the bottom where the candle will fall out of. It's nestled inside. It's actually inside, and it doesn't have a huge wound. It's not a wounded, dying pumpkin. It's an intact sphere still. It's got its whole head there.
It's very selfless of you to want wounds on your own hands as opposed to on the pumpkin.
It's all about what's best for the pumpkin. It's not about what's best for me. That's why you're looking at it wrong.
Okay, I guess I am corrected. And
also, if you're not roasting the seeds, what kind of an expert is that? This is wasteful.
Yeah.
What they're doing here.
Didn't Shannon or someone ask if they were going to roast them for them?
Yeah, somebody did. I can't remember who. Was it Shannon? But yeah, that's why I said it. And then they're like, no. Like, come on, you got all those tasty ass seeds. I think these are fake pumpkin experts. I think they just showed up. I don't think they know what the fuck they're doing. I don't think they've ever even seen a pumpkin before.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Emily getting her motorcycle license, or going to a motorcycle class. I really enjoyed this scene off the top. Mostly watching the retail employees in the Harley Davidson store having to deal with the Real Housewives showing up and shooting a scene inside the Harley Davidson. It was not a setting that we usually get. And then to watch later that Tamra went with Emily to this class. We got a clip when she clearly knows how to ride a motorcycle, because we saw her ride into the beginning of this season on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And
legendary.
just go and stop and get praise from the instructor, like, oh, you're doing a great job.
Yeah. No, that was a fun scene. Also, I've made some jokes about Gina's fashion sense before on the show. I think I have. Maybe it was just in my head. But her showing up at the Harley store with her Harley varsity style jacket and tennis skirt, awesome look, great look.
Yeah,
look
totally.
At the show. Yeah.
No, I've got a list of all the shots you've taken at Gina in my hit list because I stan her. Yeah, I believe you said that you want someone to love you like Gina loves denim.
Yeah,
it's the most recent one.
Yeah,
I didn't see a denim look this episode, and I was looking.
What was she wearing at pumpkin carving, Craig?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I wasn't
Pretty
actually
sure it was
looking.
Denim. Okay. Where's the editor here to roll the tape?
Yeah,
I'm actually only 80% on that, but it's a safe bet when you're talking about Gina.
I enjoyed that we got to see someone else with a spoon. Just hear her voice. Teddy, who I feel is an underrated housewife. She was very hated by the fan base, but I love Teddy, and to see that she had a hand in stirring up drama at this pumpkin party was lovely for me. You know, she has a podcast with Tamra, and she went on when Tamra wasn't there to shit talk a castmate that Tamra is actively shooting with. I just thought that was an excellent move.
Right. And Tamra, of course, pretends like, oh no, this is an unfortunate timing, when is obviously just happy to bust it out and talk about it. You know, as if Heather is even going to listen to her podcast every week and is going to be tuned in. Instead, Tamra just shows up I have to warn you about what was just said and that I agree with and that I'm going to double down on. It's too bad this had to happen, but
I like that she waited until they sat down for lunch, and then it seemed to me that she was going to make a speech, but instead she was like, I just want to say something to Heather for everyone else to hear. Teddy went really hard on you about the staged paparazzi photos.
Yeah.
I think that about covers everything that I want to talk about for Orange County. Do you have any other highlights?
No, I think that about covers it for me too.
Awesome. Well, that about does it for this week then. Dylan, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, well, it's still in progress, so I'm going to keep mentioning my new limited 4-episode podcast series, The Devil You Don't, which is about the Jersey Devil and his many intersections over 300 years of American history. He is the Forrest Gump of cryptids, just getting his little hands on everything. The final episode is going to be out on Friday. and the rest are all out right now. So wherever you're listening to this, you could find The Devil You Don't, show about cryptozoology, history, and a bunch of weird shit.
Awesome. Yeah, and definitely check it out. Episode 3 has a shout out to Melissa Gorga in it, and I was very pleased to hear it when I was listening.
Which comes from Sean O'Rourke, actually. I was resisting making Real Housewives of New Jersey references the whole show, and then Sean just busts one out. I'm like, all right, well, you did it, not me.
Awesome. Well, that's Bravo Outsider for this week. You can find us online at Bravo Outsider pretty much everywhere. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, rating, tell your friends. It helps us out. Until next week, keep on wifing.